No idea. That's going to be in May. Also in May will be round 4, the Saxon Ring. On the 30th. Then we head to June, where we have round 5 and the Red Bull Ring. And then we have the climax, round 6 in July the 18th for Hockenheim Ring. And well, we've had some illustrious champions over the past few years, and well, there's drivers vying to become one of these champions. Let's have a look at the pre-2020. It was Moritz Lohner, of course. Then we had Kevin Siggy in 2022, and well, I'd say probably the most impressive out of all of them is Tim Yarshall, because he had to beat Moritz Lohner and Kevin Siggy last year to become the champion, and he made a very light work of last week's qualifying phase by winning 2 races. So Tim Yarshall has already secured his way through to the grid for 2025. Right, let's check out the entry list for today, because there's lots of old names that you may have come across in RaceRoom before, but there are other drivers that come from other esports as well. So we've got Isaac Price here, we've got Pfeiffer here, we've got Jari, we've got Emre Cihan, Juhas we've got back from last time, Nicholas Huben, who you probably would more associate him with ACC. You've got Berliak, who's in 7th, you've got Julian Kunze, Bidolf is back as well, Abelarde, again another ACC specialist. We've got Labour, Ethan Yayovsky, who races on everything. He's absolutely ridiculous. We've then got Vietra, Daniel Moreno, who you may have seen in Formula 1 esports over the years. Zimmerman, Milniak. We've got De Bruyne. It's not the footballer. We've got Kraevi as well. Andika Rauma Maulina. The first time I ever commentated on him was many, many years ago on Project Cars. We've got Lolo Vera. We've got Luciano Whitford. We've got then Marvin Mackenberg, Thibaut Casabon. We've got Steph Kremers. We've got Daniel Ratai. We've got Vollebrecht, Adam Pitches, Gregor Hudjek, Alex Mosin, we've got Hendrik Lichtenhagen, what a name that is, by the way, Enzo Filipao, and then we've got Dafa Nabiel. Is there anybody there, Connery, that sticks out for you?
Well, it's great to see the return of Isaac Price, isn't it? First driver on our list, top the leaderboards, of course. That's why he's the first entry there. But you've also got other drivers from the top level of RaceRoom Racing. It's Max Pfeiffer, you got Emre Cihan in there as well. You got a good couple of others that could really show what they're made of this time around. Some of them didn't quite have good seasons last time, but they want to get back into this 2025 and hopefully make a better run of it. But let's see how many complete newcomers we'll get to see through in this second sort of shootout qualification process.
100%. Again, a few people may have just joined the broadcast because a couple of the broadcasts weren't up entirely. Basically, there are 32 drivers today. The top 16 are going to make it through to the main championship, which begins next month. And everybody else will unfortunately be out of the series. So we've already got 16 drivers on the grid. We're about to find another 16 more, and we're here at the Lausitzring. I'm not sure exactly who we're on board with here, Connor. You might have to let me know. But let's go on a lap here of the Lausitzring.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see Peter Berdlak head his way through and towards turn number 1 here. Heavy braking down into the sweeping section of turn 2, 3, and then it continues on, isn't it, into this winding right-hander here. There's a lot of twisty little bits of this circuit, especially on this particular DTM layout that these drivers will be using here today. So there may be some prolonged side-by-side action as they swing their way down in towards turn 6. Again, another opportunity with that big wide inviting bit of tarmac for drivers to slot their way down the inside, but Petar will actually decide that lap wasn't looking so good and takes the tow back to the start and will restart his qualifying effort.
No, yeah, they don't tend to finish a complete lap when we're doing a lap guide of the Lausitzring. This place is very, very unique. It's like a triangle oval. The shape of a triangle, and it has one of the biggest grandstands I've ever seen in motorsport. I've actually watched the DTM race from the top of this grandstand, so I know exactly how high it is. As we're on board with Berliak. As we go then towards turn number 1, so DTM used to continue through the oval of turn number 1 and actually missed this out entirely. But as we come through turn number 3, we're going to just switch the car over to the right-hand side, and we're about to head back towards the oval once again. Here we go. So you've got to avoid the wall on the outside as we come through turn number 4. And then before you get up to the highest gears and the highest speed, you're going to turn left. So you get back onto the infield here. Lots of room there on the exit and entry, so expect there to be some moves. We come through turn number 6. We go back on ourselves now, and we head out to the far eastern side of the circuit. And again, if you can set yourself up for a move, potentially down in towards this left-hander on the exit of turn number 7 as we come through turn at number 8. And now it's another long run as we head into the final few corners of this circuit. So again, you've got to get the car nailed for braking, and then it's all about negotiating the final chicane. Running round into the final corner, avoid the wall on the outside, and now it's the long run down towards turn number 1. So the best overtaking opportunity really is to square someone up on the exit of the final corner and then have a nice run down towards turn number 1 and send one up the inside. It really is as simple as that. But 5 minutes, 40 seconds left to go. And Isaac Price, one of the OGs of sim racing, been around sim racing at the top end for the last 10 years. Well, he finds himself there right at the sharp end. And well, who's behind him? Well, it is Ethan Yuyovsky. Yuyovsky, 0.08 of a second behind him.
Yeah, very close run in qualifying here at the moment. The spread amongst the top sort of 10 isn't really that much either. Everyone inside of around about 2.5 tenths of a second. So a very, very close qualifying order at the moment. And we still got half of this entire session left to go. Isaac Price purple through the first sector, and I can say that he's purple through the second sector too. So this is looking like a pretty tidy lap for Isaac Price, just to try and get himself a little bit of a buffer back to Yuyovsky, who's also going along very well.
This is going to be a tough commentary today because most people have chosen a Ferrari. It makes sense. During the shootout phase of this competition, you can choose whatever car you want, right? There's no limitations on what car you use. You just pick the fastest car. When it comes to the actual season, which starts next month, they have to choose the car that they're going to use for every single week. So 12 races in total. So yeah, that is why we're seeing lots of Ferraris on the grid. That will change, and there'll be a BOP specifically for the season. We've got Stein in the chat. Hendrik doesn't just have a great name, also a great personality. Wow, that is beautiful. Turns out that Hendrik's dad's in the chat.
Hello. Well, I hope things go well in these two races. I mean, there's a little bit of pressure on, isn't there?
Yeah, it's not really his dad. It's just someone being really nice. Which simulators are they using? Nice. They're using their own simulator at home. So they're racing from home. So that whatever they would use. That's 32 people's different simulators. I haven't got that information here, I'm afraid. I can only apologize. Anyone watching over on Twitch as well, hello to you all. Good evening. Good evening to everybody watching over on YouTube as well. Hopefully you're having a wonderful, wonderful evening. So we're on board with Emre Cihan. The Turk has just gone down to P8 as Thibaut Kazabon has moved up into 3rd. And I'll tell you what, as much as Isaac Price has got a lot of time on RaceRoom and very similarly to Yuyovsky, the top 3 here, I just wouldn't, they're not RaceRoom specialists. Yet here they are. They are names that you see in most competitions. If there's an open entry in terms of like a time trial, you normally see these names in and amongst it, but not right at the sharp end. So it's really nice to see the likes of Isaac Price, Yuyovsky, and Thibaut Kazabon right up there. And actually, surprising today, the Indonesian Andika Rama Maulana, who again is that's a great lap time from Emre Cihan. It's a full 10th of a second clear as well. Talking about people who are, maybe not expected to be at the top end, Emre Cihan is absolutely one of the drivers we do expect to be at the top. He is a RaceRoom great, one of the best RaceRoom drivers of all time. Maybe, let's say, fallen off a little bit over the last couple of years, but hasn't sort of set the world alight until today, because he's currently pole position. Fair play.
Yeah, it's a very good lap indeed. Because I was literally just mentioning the fact that we had a pretty tight spread amongst the top grouping of cars, but then Emre Cihan decides to go a 10th of a second faster than everyone else is able to manage. Not only is he not in a Ferrari, which is the fastest, which is the most popular car, shall we say, here today. He's in a Porsche. He did it he got a lap time by quite a considerable margin. So that is very, very interesting.
Yeah, but the Porsche is also the car that was used by the champion last year, so you expect it to be pretty good around most circuits. Doesn't really tend to have the biggest weakness. Ferrari, for sure, is the most used car here, so you'd assume that would be the strongest. But it looks like Emre Cihan has found something here, and he did qualify for shootout number 1 and didn't manage to get into the top 16, which we kind of expect from someone like him. So a second bite at the cherry, if you like.
Yeah, things just didn't go his way at all in that previous shootout. But thanks to the system here, you do get that second chance as long as you can qualify on the leaderboard. And there wouldn't really be any doubts that Cihan would be able to qualify on the leaderboard. So he does get this opportunity. let's hope it's a little bit of a cleaner race this time around, and he can take part in the next season of the DTM Esports.
100%. Isaac Price then is done. They will not get another lap time in now. Once the time has gone below around about a 1:21, they're done. And, they actually have to cross the line and then do a lap time. So anyone that crosses the line now is all good. They will, that's their last time in the books. But anyone that starts a lap now will not finish that lap. So we can look at Andika Rama Maulana all we like. This isn't going to count. And he's probably wasting everyone's time, to be honest. But he's up to P7, so he has improved. Good job from him. And that is all good. Thibaut Casabon actually moves ahead of his fellow Frenchman, Philippau, up into 4th position. Shout out to everybody on the grid because they are separated by 0.8 of a second. So if you're watching at home and you're wondering what 0.8 of a second is, it's wrong. And that's it. So that's the difference between being pole and not pole.
Yeah, it's just so close, and hopefully this is a recipe for some fantastic racing in the 2 races that we'll have to run here today, because there are a good couple more opportunities around here to overtake than we had at the Sachsenring in Shootout number 1. So this potentially is looking to be a bit more of a competitive race than what we saw in Shootout 1, even though in that first Shootouts there were a couple of little occasions where drivers were able to get themselves side by side, but not significant. I think it's going to be change. It's going to be a changed situation here in the second Shootout, where drivers will be able to recover potentially from a bad qualifying effort.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a circuit that lends itself to overtakes. Oschersleben doesn't, but we did have some pretty incredible overtakes in the end. So
we
had 3, but they were all just really, really good. So we can't have it all. We're about to go racing then, as it transitions from qualifying into the race. So they've got 20-minute sprint racing action here. They will have a formation lap, of course, and partnered with Cupra, just like the real DTM. And then we will be heading for a 20-minute timed race. But remember, it's all about points being accrued between race 1 and race number 2. So if you get into that top 16 after the 2 races are added up, you are through to the main ball. You're through to the main championship. Connery, any predictions for this race?
Oh, I don't know. Potential chaos in towards turn number 1. Potentially, thankfully we do have the sort of quote-unquote rolling starts here in this series, so drivers can get themselves a little bit more evenly spread out than if they were on a standing start. But with the field so close, you got to be pressing on forward right from the get-go, and it's a very, very tricky turn number 1 for the drivers to negotiate. Further on in the race, though, a little bit later on, again, we'll see those that perhaps didn't qualify as well, or rather their qualifying isn't representative of their race pace, try to come up through the fields. Just to drop a couple of names in there that I potentially might think make their way through this field. Adam Pinches down in towards P20 here at the moment. Maybe Alex Mosen can do something from further back as well. Max Pfeiffer from outside the top 10 looking to try and progress forwards just to make it himself a little bit more safe in terms of the points coming into the second race.
Yeah, I think if we're going to look at someone who's going to be able to make his way through and make some overtakes, Erhan Yuyovsky, I would probably put up there as that kind of driver.
Well, he's starting at second row.
He is a very quick driver in terms of qualifying, but his race pace is always better than his qualifying pace, so expect Yuyovsky to be in and amongst it. I believe Price and Yuyovsky are going to fight significantly enough that Jihan might be able to get away in this race. They're just not going to want to give an inch to each other. And it'll be interesting to see actually the differences between the Porsche and indeed the Ferraris. The fact that the 2 Ferraris at the front have actually gone for different liveries really does help us out a touch here. So that's fantastic news, knowing that Yuyovsky's in the dark blue and the white. And then we've got the Verstappen.com of Thierry Vermeulen in Isaac Price driving the car. But you've got the big green Porsche at the front. So we're halfway round. We're about to get cracking here, effectively. How important is it, Connery, to get a good start today?
You want to put all the chaos behind you, essentially. So mid-pack is potentially the worst place to be. So therefore, if you can try and get a couple of passes down in towards turn number 1 and well, in the first sector, shall I say, and hope the odds fall in your favor with more cars behind you, equally more chaos. That potentially might be the approach here, but everyone's going to be hungry for those points. This is the last opportunity that these drivers will get to qualify into the DTM Esports 2025 season. everyone is going to be pushing forward. It's keeping yourself out of trouble. It's going to be the hard thing.
Yeah, Emre Cihan knows full well what it's like to not get a good start, and ultimately the reason why he's here is because of that. But he's got a second bite of the cherry. He is pole position, and well, in his last chance saloon, it's race 1 of Shootout number 2 here at the Lausitzring for the DTM Esports 2025. It's the Porsche of Emre Cihan who takes them away from pole position. We're about to see the lights go green on your screen, and we are. They all spread out there like warm butter over some toast as we head then down towards turn number 1. And I tell you what, Isaac Price has got an absolute worldie of a start here. And while they come through turn number 1, it is 3 wide in places, 4 wide in places. That's Thibaut Casabon. Casabon is off, he is out. And that is going to make today very difficult indeed. He is going to have to go through that process of qualifying high up and get a good result in race number 2. Or for the Frenchman, it could be game over. But his teammate is P3, so Yayovsky is up to 3rd. Price does jump Cihan for the lead of this race. And actually, Andika Ramamoulana has moved up to 4th spot as we see Kunze potentially making a move. And Berliak, actually, the Croat sweeps underneath him in through turn number 5 and gets the move done as we see some action in the background there. And that might be one of your Hungarians. It looks like Shari is facing the wrong way. There's a Beamer as well, and that is Gregor Hudjek. So Gregor Hudjek is no longer in this race. And well, we've got a couple of retirements already.
Yep, we absolutely do. Really, really big shame there for Casabon dropping down the order so early on. It was 3 wide between 3 Ferraris down in towards turn 1 for the first time, and Casabon was the one that drew the short straw. A little bit battle on screen. Vilstra versus Pfeiffer here at the moment. Pfeiffer trying to get himself up underneath as they wind their way through the left-hander here. We've got Malinek looking to try and get himself involved here as well. It's a battle for P12, 13 and 14 coming up to the start-finish.
Yeah, Vlietstra there not able to get the move done on Pfeiffer, but now they're under pressure here from Milniak. As we head then down towards turn number 1, the Porsche takes the outside line, not going to work out. To see a BMW of Sheldon van der Linde's BMW there. That's Biddulph. So Lloyd Biddulph also trying to get involved. And right now, if you're in a top 16, guarantee those points, and then you can work on something in race number 2. Just pick off people making mistakes in this race. Don't try and force anything too much. But it's a frantic start here at the end of lap number 1. If you head back onto the oval, it is pretty much in formation now. So everyone's figured themselves out. There's going to be some very upset drivers who are no longer in this race or have fallen down to the back end. But ultimately, Isaac Price is already a 2nd in the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Price looking to try and get that buffer. We'll have to see what the race pace of that Ferrari is compared to the seemingly great qualifying pace of the Porsche in the hand of Emre Cihan. We'll just have to watch this very, very carefully because, yes, these guys at the front of the field, they probably wouldn't want to fight all that much considering how the point system works here in these shootouts. You know, if you finish, podium in one of the races, you're without completely bottling it in the second race, you're pretty much through already. So that they don't want to risk it potentially here. Perhaps that's why, the Emre Cihan decided not to fight Isaac Price too much for the race lead because he's thinking bigger picture.
Yeah, I think if you finish top 8, you're guaranteed to go through in one race, right? Because there's only 8 people that can, even if the grid completely swapped around, there's only 8 people that could get those points that you got. So it's I don't know. Yeah, I think the top 8 you're pretty much good to go.
Maths is hard.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Very difficult to try and figure out. It's hard enough trying to figure out the racing, what's going on. Shout out to Lichtenhagen. He's currently 24th, up from P30. So we know there's a couple of Lichtenhagen fans on the DTM YouTube channel, which is always good to see. But yeah, Lichtenhagen not only with a great name, but performing extremely well. So there we go, P24, one of very few drivers that are in anything outside of a Porsche, or actually outside of a Ferrari. Pretty much everybody's in a Ferrari apart from a couple of BMWs. We've got 2 Porsches, and I think this is the only Mercedes, maybe? Actually, I think it is. I think the sole Mercedes is Hendrik Lichtenhagen. So, yeah. Do you know what? I get it, because sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, I just like to use the same car, regardless of whether it's the fastest in terms of BOP or whether it's the fastest around a certain circuit. I just like being comfortable in a car, and I think that outweighs pace sometimes. So, yeah, good choice.
Mackenberg, the only Lambo in this field. I'm just double-checking the entry list.
Champion car, mate, from last season's real DTM in Mirko Portolotti. Shout out to Mirko. Sure he's watching somewhere. Probably not, but maybe.
Maybe he's trying to channel Marco's energy into this. Just like, well, I'm going to pick his car, so like that instantly means good results, right? You know, that's how it works.
Yeah, one of the most polarizing human beings. Actually, that's the wrong way of saying things. What I'm trying to say is he's the most different person from his driving style I've ever met in my life. Like Mirko will send it from a mile away in a race circuit, but is the most kind and gentle bloke outside of the car. It's quite ridiculous. Yeah, but shout out to him. Congratulations on him winning the championship last year. Very deserving human being. Right, we're on board then with Berliak. So Berliak just sort of faking a move there in front of Juhas. Just up ahead, and they don't really need to make any moves, as you well pointed out earlier on. Yeah, you don't really need to. Don't really need to be making any kind of crazy decisions at this stage. And really, if you're in the top 7, you're having a good.
Yeah, you're having a pretty good time, and you know, so it may seem that at the very front of this field that it will look pretty processional, shall we say, unless a really, really obvious move opens up, like someone misses their braking point or someone misses the apex by a catastrophic amount. Although saying that, I believe that was Christian Juhas, 6th place at the moment, went very, very deep in towards turn number 1 there. So maybe a spark still trying to make the Tinder catch a light here in this at the very top of the field, but I wouldn't expect any really big or risky moves to happen in amongst this front train. Meanwhile, further back though, this is where we do expect those more risky moves to happen. Although everyone is still single file, you know, nose to bumper here at the moment, this is where maybe later on in the race, maybe in about 5, 6, 7 minutes time, that those more risky moves will start to happen as drivers get desperate for their points.
Yeah, down at this position in the race, they have to, you know. It is a case of if you do not get in that top 16 after 2 races today, you are out of the DTM Esports series. Oh, there's a potential move there being made by Vollebrecht, but it's not quite going to work out. And if you're P21, you have to try something at a minimum. You know, like I always say, you don't want to get to Monday at work and you're sat there thinking, Jesus, I should have just. I'm not sure why you'd say this to Jesus, but you know, here we are. But you'd be sat there going, oh man, like I could have done this, I could have done so much more. You just cannot afford to leave anything out there, because ultimately, if you do not qualify, that's it, you're done. You're gonna have to watch all your mates, as we see here. Nabil make a potential move. He's up to P15. Oh, they have to avoid a Porsche. And I tell you what's going to be a freebie. Milniak, who was in such a good spot, is now down to P23. Bidolf is also going to get involved here as well, I believe. So Nabil actually gains 2 positions for the price of 1 there. Probably didn't even expect both of those, but got it. Lloyd Bidolf, all of a sudden, who did not qualify well in this whatsoever, is up to a top 15. 2 top 15s, and you're going to put yourself through, that's for sure. And it might be a little bit of extra prize for Mr. Bidolf. Bidolf's going to go the long way around. He's going to try and keep that over up and pinch that Ferrari onto the apex. Not quite going to work out, but Nabil, the pole, is up to P14. Brilliant.
Yeah, he'll have to try and put on a defense here, because that BMW is looking very threatening indeed towards the outside. Goes Bidolf, decides to file back in line, tries to you know, try and gets to pull a sneaky one onto the entry there, but it was very well defended by Dafa Nabil. But great progress being made by Lloyd Bidolf here. P15, P14 looking well on the cards as well. An improvement on that position. Well, there's a decent gap between this grouping and the one ahead, so it will require a couple of good laps to be able to lock onto the back if Bidolf is able to get past, or if Nabil picks up the pace here. But staying in line for now down towards turn number 1. Maybe a bit of a shot to the back bumper. That Ferrari pushing wide just a little bit through turn number 1. But yeah, that BMW is big in the wing mirrors, I suppose.
Yeah. Just a little sniff, nothing more. Just a little sniff on the backside there of Nabil Bidolf. We'll want to try and get a bit more security and try and guarantee some more points, but as it stands, Nabil doing a good job. The big winner in all of this is Vlietstra, currently at P13. The gap's just going to increase with these two fighting like they're fighting. And, you know, Nabil has done all the hard work now. This is a brilliant spot to be in. Like I said, 2 P14s, and you're in such a great position to be in the main show. But the last thing you want to do is do what we've just seen, the Porsche of Milniak, unfortunately fall down outside that top 20, and ultimately it makes it so difficult to get back in race number 2. It just comes down to race number 2. If you can give yourself an opportunity through race 1 where it just takes the pressure off of the second race and you don't have to do that well, Oh, that's the real perfect scenario for these drivers. So Nabil coming around that final corner and actually has a bit of a gap to work with now as Biddulph has just fallen off ever so slightly, and Biddulph may be under a bit of pressure now from Adam Pinches, and it's always a Hungarian when it comes to RaceRoom Esports.
Yep, it really is. Here's the rear bumper cam from Lloyd Biddulph as that Ferrari gets bigger and bigger. Adam Pinches trying to progress on. He was one of the drivers that I pointed out that could, on a good day, get himself progressing forward through races like this. He's still residing in P16 for the moment. Still time left in this race for him to try and get himself more safe, shall we say, inside of that top half of the field. But it's going to be a big ask, if Biddulph and Nabil have been driving the way they have been throughout the start of this race. It might be a bit more difficult.
Yeah, certainly would be. Let's have a look at Rama Maulana, shall we? P4 right now from Indonesia. This would be our first ever Indonesian driver to make it through to the DTM Esports main show, the main championship, and well, doing it at Cantor right now. Got no real pressure from in front, so could afford to sort of just chill out if you like, and no real pressure from behind as well. And actually, Luciano Witwer, who has probably moved up the most positions from qualifying. I'm pretty sure he's outside the top 16 before in qualifying. He's moved up to P5. He's got Juhas in behind him. But yeah, Andika Rama Maulana, again, I've commentated on him so many times in the G Challenge, commentated on an SRO, and now getting to commentate on him in RaceRoom Esports as well. And it's very rare that you see a driver participating over 3 different disciplines. And Maulana is one of those very special, talented drivers. Great to see him up there.
The flexibility of some sim races is absolutely fantastic. No matter what they throw themselves into, some of them, they just immediately pick it up, do it well. I mean, there are some fundamental skills that are useful across all the different disciplines or across all different sims, yes, but to be able to pick things up that fast and not immediately being on a very, very competitive level, I've always found really, really impressive.
Yeah. So when I first started in sim racing, I say the story all the time. You know, over 10 years ago, there was maybe 10, 15 drivers that would just be at every esports finale. Doesn't matter what game it was on. Now there are just thousands of drivers at such a level across multiple different sims that to find someone who's good across, you know, multiple different ones is so difficult, so tough to find them. But ironically, you know, in the top 4, you've got 3 of them. So obviously Maulana, we've already spoke about. Yajowski's one of the best drivers of all time on different sims. You've got Isaac Price, who's also very much the same. We're on board though with Nabil. He's got that nice bit of room to work with, actually probably catching up to the group in front. Would be nice to gain a few more freebies with 7 minutes on the clock left to go. Not really that opportunity. Lichtenhagen, who's up to P23 now actually. So he managed to gain a spot, and I guess that would have been because of Milniak, actually, with the Porsche facing the wrong way through. Turn number 1 as we see ascend up the inside from Thibaut Casabon. Of course, we saw him facing the wrong way out of turn 1 earlier on, and he was actually in P30 from that position right at the back of the grid, and now making his way through the pack, and it might be worth staying on board with him here, because I think there might be a couple of opportunities for him, trying to open up back onto the oval, and then send one up the inside in towards turn number 5. Not quite close enough, I don't think, this time around. But we'll be hoping for some fighting in front. Oh, there's a spinner. Well, that's a freebie. That makes life a little bit easier. Who was that? Abelarde, who, again, someone I've commentated on the SRO series over the last couple of years. And, yeah, that is an unforced error by the looks of things. So we won't be able to see the replay of that, unfortunately. But he was not facing in the right direction. And you can't park there, sir.
No, absolutely not. And down to P29, it will require a Herculean effort in race number 2 to try and offset that. Try and pick up as many positions now. Try to get that recovery drive going for the last 5.5 minutes. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. I mean, you can see Casabon, he's already been attempting for the entirety of the race with 5.5 minutes to go. He only just got up to P25, so it just goes to show how close and competitive this field is. I mean, we had like 7-8 tenths of a second separating the entire field.
I like Thibaut. Thibaut's a good lad. He really is. See a Lamborghini then. The sole Lamborghini making a move into turn number 1. Brilliantly done. Yeah, nicely negotiated. Love to see that. Yeah, job done. We're still seeing some fighting going on here. Thibaut Casabon trying to make a move on Shari. He's now going to cut underneath, I think. Should get the exit. has got the overlap. Brilliant stuff. I should say the underlap. As we head there down towards turn number 6. Down before we get to the apex. Sweeps across the bonnet to stop any advancements from behind. And that is P24 now for him. And I think Lichtenhagen's now moved up to P22 because of some spins as well. So very good there from Lichtenhagen. Oh, yeah, there we go. Lichtenhagen up to P22. The only Mercedes on the grid. And unfortunately, you're outside the top 16 still. But I think if you can get yourself in the top 16 and then wait for people to make mistakes like we've seen during this race, that's probably the best way of going about things.
Yeah, that's probably, well, I mean, it's one route,
well,
that's for
apart
sure.
from qualifying pole and winning, but that's definitely the best way.
Yeah, that would be the best way, but I mean, the field was very close. I mean, you get a lap of a lifetime to do it, but yeah, it's still a difficult road from this position here. You got a big defense to the wall for Narkim Lieber here as Miniak goes down the inside towards turn number 1. That Porsche getting the pass done on the BMW. That was a big defense to the inside pit wall though from Lieber. It was gave really Malik only one option.
No, absolutely. And again, if he doesn't spin earlier on in this race, ultimately, it's a whole different story. I've seen a few people there. Why is it like 80% Ferrari? Well, people pick the car that's the fastest to qualify through to the main series, Dominic. I'm not sure it takes too many brain cells to work that one out. But when we get to the main series, then they have to choose a car for the whole championship. So right now, they just choose the fastest car for today. And if they get through, then the next part of the championship, they've got 6 rounds, 12 races in total, and they have to use the same car from the start to the finish of the season. So there you go.
Yeah, so you will probably end up seeing a little bit more variety in terms of the car choices for next season. So yes, the shootout looks like this with 15 billion Ferraris. But the main season will be different, and also all the drivers will be using their own liveries too, instead of ones from the DTM series.
It's always good when you get the esports team's liveries into the game, and you'll be able to buy your friend, if your friends qualify for the series, you'll be able to buy their livery and use it in the real game. So yeah, this it's really, really cool series. But right now they're using the cars from last year that are in the game, and ultimately once we get past this phase, they get their own car in the game. So we're about to see a potential move down the inside. Thibaut Casabon will then cut across Zimmerman. Oh, I'll tell you what. Oh, it's Pfeiffer. It is Pfeiffer. Absolutely is Pfeiffer. Making a move on Vera. And that is for P11. Doesn't really need to do that, but any extra points right now makes race 2 a lot easier.
Yeah, Pfeiffer making some good progress there. A response though from Vera down on the brakes, at least to show the nose. And actually it's a little bit more. The door left open by Pfeiffer. The BMW down the inside, but can't quite capitalize, can't quite maintain the overlap, and the battle just settles down. There's a bit of a pairing ahead of them between Ville Creevy and De Bruyne as well. So places to look at for the last minute and a half.
Yeah, we've got 2 more laps remaining by the looks of things. Price still leads 1 second clear of Sheehan. And you've got Maulana's at the P3. So what's happened to Yuyovsky? He's down to P7. So there must have been an issue. He must have made a mistake somewhere or been involved in something. But he's now P7.
On my timing screen, he has 5 off tracks. The most anyone else has is 2. So
slow down.
Yeah, potentially, but he's fallen back into the clutches of Julian Kunze. Ville Crevy's also involved in this as well. So, yeah, it's it's not a massive problem for Hanuyovsky. It just eats into his buffer for that second race, but it still should be comfortable. But yeah, it was a weird one, that one.
No, it really was a strange one. Maulana though isn't going to be too worried about that podium on their debut in this series if they manage to finish the job off. And again, no real pressure from behind. Nothing really to be too worried about up in front. You don't think Sheehan and Price are going to suddenly lose 4 seconds on the final lap of this race. We come around that final corner. 25 seconds left on the clock. And we're about to start the final lap of race number 1. So remember, guys, the top 16 after 2 races today, in terms of their points added together, will make it through to the DTM Esports Grid 2025. 3 weeks ago, we had the first shootout, which is at the Oschersleben circuit. And now we're trying to find the second 16, with making a grid of 32 drivers. The 32 drivers. Any potential moves going to be made down towards turn number 1. The last chance for turn number 1. And you can see there, we're potentially seeing Millenier making a move on Volleybrecht. Sends it down in towards turn number 1. There's going to be almost contact, and actually it has to back out of it there. So Millenier, in a bit of pressure, or under a bit of pressure, was clearly going to finish in the top 16 if there wasn't a mistake, and it was a mistake made all on their own. And ultimately, this is going to be a very tough race number 2.
Yep. And one to look at, of course. There's the grid for race 2 is another qualifying session, so it doesn't matter what result they got here in this first race. We'll do qualifying again for the second race, so no grids, the results of this, or any reverse grid situations going on. Absolutely not. It's just going to be another qualifying session and another race. But Isaac Price, he's coming towards the end of the lap right now, and with a very, very comfortable win.
Can't teach an old dog new tricks, and sometimes you just don't need to. Because Isaac Price back in the winner's circle. Congratulations to him. Very, very accomplished driver. Has been around for a long, long time and picks up another race win at the top end of sim racing. Emre Cihan back to the top end of RaceRoom for him as well. Great performance from him. Andika Maulana, first attempt at trying to get through to the DTM Esports series. First Indonesian as well. And well, with that podium, should I say, will get through. Luciano Whitver finishes in 4th position. A great drive from him. Juhas is in 5th. We've got Berliak and Yuyovski finishing in 6th and 7th. We've got Julian Kunze, Ville Kraevi, and Kaj De Bruin in your top 10. We've got Pfeiffer, Vera, Vlietstra, who's so good they named it twice. Nabil, Bidolf, Pinches, Huben, Kremers, and Volleybrecht as your top 19. And then we've got Milniak, Lieber, Lichtenhagen, Casabon, Zimmerman, Jari, Filipao, Mackenberg, Abeladze, and Ratai. Are there any more drivers to talk about? Well, we've got Mosin, who finished, and then actually there's only one DNF. Gregor Hudjek in P31 with a DNF. And I was going to mention during that race, but we didn't really have time to. Qualifying is absolutely key. And with there only being 0.8 of a second between P1 and P31, if you can find yourself a 10th somewhere, if you've qualified P20 in that first race, if you can find a 10th of a second somewhere, you are going to be so much higher in that order. You're going to gain maybe 10 positions. It is that tight.
Yeah, it really, really is. And you saw the huge difficulty that Thibaut Casabon had in trying to get through the field, right? That one mistake, or that one incident, shall we say, through turn number 1, 3 wide with 2 other Ferraris, how it spun in front of traffic, losing all of his positions, but still wasn't able to progress that much, actually, through the field. It was very, very competitive indeed. I don't know if he had a little bit of damage or anything, but yeah, it did seem very tough out there for him. So I think some of these drivers are going to notice that and going to say, hang on, I'm going to need to take this, maybe opening lap a little bit more careful, because otherwise, you know, if I have a mistake and I have to try and make a recovery, well, Casabon showed it, not necessarily always guaranteed to happen.
You need about half a second to make an overtake in motorsport. It's as simple as that. And when the grid is only separated by 0.8 from first to last, find out half a second in one corner is very bloody difficult when it comes to getting a move done. Whether you are good enough to be P1 and you find yourself P31, it is so difficult to make that move. So yeah, it's a tough one. But anyway, let's check out again. We're supposed to have an interview here, guys, right? They're supposed to be. It's crazy, right? So, oh well, actually, no, we do, because he's one of the OGs of sim racing. He actually knows that we do interviews. So Isaac Price is actually waiting to be spoken to. Normally, we have to wait, and then they never show up. But when we've got Isaac here, drag him in, Connery. Let's get Isaac in. Let's have a little chat with him. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to.
Oh, do you mean to do it?
I'm going to have to... Oh, yeah. I think you'll have to do it, because I don't know if I have the permission.
Oh, no, I don't have permissions either, so that's good. So...
Ah, wonderful.
That's really great. So I don't know if Chris, Captain Coffee, if you're watching, maybe you could just drag him in for us and then drag him out. I don't know. But, yeah, he is waiting in the abyss. So it's not a driver issue this time round, guys. It's unfortunately we just can't drag him in. Which is hold on, maybe no. Let's go join him. I'm gonna go join him.
Do we want to risk that? There we go. We'll do it.
1, 2, 3, go. Well, we've come to join you, Isaac, because we are not trusted with the roles to drag you into our chat. So we've come to say hello to you, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Race went to plan, so can't complain.
Good, yeah. It's been a long time since I spoke to you, actually, to be honest. I see you in all of the chats and everything I do, giving people abuse. You know,
Yeah.
the Mr. Nice Guy, Isaac Price, that everyone seems to think is not true. But it must feel amazing to be back to winning ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously always great to be able to pick up a win, no matter where it is. Obviously, I knew that some of the big hitters qualified last round already, so in one sense, it left the door open. But Emirate's very fast, and the RHG guys are always quick, so you could never take anything for granted. Yeah, I was a bit surprised by how quick Emre was in quali, but yeah, got back in front of him at the start, so no problem.
Well, it's the biggest prize pool in DTM Esports history. So this has surely become a bit of a big deal for you now.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, it was a couple of seasons. It was like part of a program that I was doing for an esports team where like I might do DTM and Ren Sports or whatever. Whereas this year, it's a little bit more straightforward in the sense that I haven't got something else lined up. So yeah, it kind of puts it a higher priority for that reason. And yeah, it's a good opportunity to finish in the high positions and fight for a championship, I hope.
Fantastic stuff. Connor, you got anything to say to Isaac before we let him go off back to practice?
Isaac, I think, I guess you're in a situation where you can just relax a little bit for now for this second race, right?
Yeah, I feel like every time I win a race, I get a penalty or something. So it would be good if I could pick up another good result just to make sure. But yeah, takes a bit of the pressure off. Obviously, if you're around someone who isn't in such a luxurious position, you have to be a bit careful and be respectful. But yeah, I'll give it a go and see if I can get another win.
Well, I was going to ask you lost the first challenge, but that's a bit cruel in an esports series. But have a good one, Isaac. Great to see you back to winning ways, mate. And maybe we'll be talking to you again after this race.
Yeah, all right. See you.
See you, mate. All right, there we go, Connery. We're back in the other chat again. I'm not sure what's happening in terms of roles or whatever, but we figured it out. It's good to have Isaac Price in the chat with us. Isaac, who's been, again, around for a very, very long time within sim racing. You can't help but respect him and what he's achieved within sim racing, because there'll be some youngsters watching who will not have the longevity of what that man has had. When it gets to sort of 2036, they'll be nowhere near the top end, whereas he's managed to stick it out for that amount of time. But anyway, we are here for qualification. 10 minutes to get their best lap, and then another 20-minute race. It really is a simple format, Connery.
Yeah, not that much to it. Let's just say that it's best driver wins as far as this is concerned here at the moment. Obviously, in terms of fights to the race win, we probably won't get any because of the structure, but it gives us something to look forward to potentially for the main DTM Esports season. If everyone's going to be this close, and especially the top 16 coming out today is going to be this close, plus the top 16 from Shootout number 1, who are similarly competitive, stick all of those cars on the same circuit together, and you have a recipe for some absolutely fantastic action in the main season. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. We got one more to get out of the way in terms of finding our 16 extra drivers to join us on the 21st of March. First round at Zandvoort for the main DTM Esports season, which is a heck of a first round.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a very, very fun circuit to race around. Again, I'm not sure how many overtakes we're going to see around there, but DTM Esports does tend to throw up massive fun races with lots of overtaking opportunities, regardless of whether we're at Oschersleben or the Lausitzring. Right, we've got ourselves 7.5 minutes to go. Emre Cihan, well, he was pole. It's now Isaac Price looking to go back-to-back and do what Tim Yarshall did last time out in Shootout number 1. But I am watching the DTM chat right now on YouTube. Let me know where you're from around the world, who you're watching, maybe who you're supporting. And if you have any questions, now's the time to ask, so I'll try and answer them over the next 7 minutes. And if you're watching in my chat as well, exactly the same. If you've got any questions, ask now. And if you want to let me know where you're watching from around the world, that is also a possibility But it is Isaac Price, who wasn't expecting Emre Cihan to be as fast as he was in the first qualifying. Well, what a way to hit back, because he not only jumped him into turn number 1 in race number 1, he's now jumped him in qualifying number 2, and Isaac Price is your pole sitter as it stands.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unleashing the performance of that Ferrari. Let's see if Cihan can put in a similarly godlike qualification lap here to get himself back onto pole. Although someone who's just come through, Ilhan Yayovski, getting himself to pole position provisionally, still with 6.5 minutes left to go. Yes, but good effort from Yayovski to get himself up into that position.
No, absolutely could not agree more. We've now seen Juhas move up, Pfeiffer just moved up, Burliak just dropped down 2 positions because of that. As we see Thibaut Casabon, who was facing the wrong way in race number 1, made some moves in race number 1 to get himself back up the order. Now needing a huge performance, has just thrown one in there. Brilliant stuff there from Casabon. And the beautiful thing for him is he's actually got a teammate up with him on the front row, because Yayovski is now up to 2nd.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from both of those. Kaj de Bruin heading his way through towards the latter end of the lap as well. Great Sector 1, good Sector 2. What's Sector 3 looking like for the RHE Esports driver? Heading his way across the line in just a couple of moments' time. There it is. No improvement, however, in that situation. So just 0.2 of a second behind the race leader. Look at how close the top 4 are. 66 hundredths separating all 4 of them.
Yeah, there's just absolutely nothing separating them. It's just quite ridiculous. If you go really down to sort of P28, there's only 0.6 separating the whole field effectively. I'm sure that Mackenberg, Lichtenhagen, and indeed Hujek are all going to go faster as well. But yeah, it's just crazy to see again RaceRoom throwing up a extremely close field each and every time. As Craigie gains 0.5 tenth, moves up about 8 positions. It's ridiculous. As Hujek now moves within 1 second of P1. But Thibaut Casabon, fair play. Casabon has done a sensational job here and had to. Pressure is such a strange commodity. Some people thrive on it, some people crumble. Thibaut Casabon has just proven that he can absolutely thrive on it, because he needs a good performance in this race. It's not a case of, he kind of has to do it. He absolutely has to perform in this race. And I think, a top 4 is a minimum for him.
De Bruin heading his way back across line. Can he make it a RHE Esports 1-2-3 on the grid? No, he cannot. Still P10. It looks like he has a decent amount of pace in that Ferrari, however. It's just unable to string together a lap at the moment.
No, it does seem like he's struggling a little bit. We've got...
Price.
Oh, Isaac Price goes up to P1. Well, that is a very impressive lap time indeed. Casabon's not going to be too worried again. P2's fine. A 2nd position in a race would be absolutely fine as well. iPunch Demons just said, I've seen this track in RaceRoom. Is this an oval with an infield? It is, but it's like a triangle. It's like a triangle, but it is technically an oval. It was built for IndyCar. It was used, yeah, it's a little bit like Pocono. It was used a couple of years, and then IndyCar realized that in Europe, our weather in the summer is not guaranteed. So they're like, we can't really race there every year. So yeah, it's an amazing complex. It really is. I'd say I'm very lucky to have worked there, and yeah, it's a phenomenal place. The grandstand is huge, and yeah, it's just a shame it's just in the middle of nowhere, really, to be completely honest.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where racetracks have to be, I guess, because unfortunately in the real world we get some, I would say, annoying people who move close to racetracks and then complain about the noise. So that's something that tends to happen. So that they are usually in the middle of nowhere.
Burliak there, getting very close to the wall. Very close to the wall indeed. I don't think you'd want to get any closer, as there might be a lick of Ferrari paint on that green and white wall. As we come across the line, Burliak, is there an improvement? No, there absolutely isn't. And there's only 2 minutes, 30 seconds to go as Isaac Price is going faster again. Round the final corner. Stay on board then with Isaac Price, looking to double up on his victory that he's already achieved today, as he's about to come across the line. If it's a good final sector, and I'm not sure this will be beaten. Across the line for Price, and he does improve. It's by 0.04 of a second, and he's just done a 121.3. Brilliant.
Yeah, incredible. It's just great, the margins that he's able to squeak out of that Ferrari for that
extra. Wow.
Wow,
Yeah,
4P4.
We both called that at the same time there. Absolute shock, I tell you. Every single time we do DTM Esports, me and Connery say this, there's always a surprise in the shootouts. Shootout 1, there's always a surprise, and there's always a surprise in Shootout 2, and Vlietstra has become that surprise. That is a very good lap time there from the Dutchman, and wow, he qualified up into P4. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, brilliant indeed, and well, is there going to be any extra movement in the back end of this race? I don't think Xian will actually make it to the line, by the way, as he's heading his way across now. And it's a 121 second lap. So it's, he took the gamble, he took the reset, but then has not let himself enough time for the reset.
No, but P5 will be fine. He's already got a second position. He's through. It's not going to be, there's no worries about him qualifying through to the DTM Esports, unless, of course, there is a potential penalty. It's a weird one, because if you do win the race, you could get yourself a penalty that you lose points in the second race. So it's almost worth not racing, but then that opens up, it gives everyone else a freer opportunity to score points. So it's such a weird position to be in. So yeah, you just got to make sure that you don't do anything too silly. As there is Filipao, who is P11. It's actually another surprise, really, Filipao being that high up. I'd say Kaj de Bruin is another surprise. And RaceRoom, once again, proving that it is a great place, a great foundation to build esports stars, because we're seeing lots of new names each and every time we visit it.
We absolutely are. We are. Just a couple of seconds left in the session, however, and we'll get ourselves our qualifying results. As there we go. There is our starting grid for race number 2.
Isaac Price then starting one position higher than he did in the previous race. He managed to win the race after going into turn number 1 the fastest. This time he's got complete clear track in front of him, nothing to really be worried about. And can he do the same again? Thibaut Casabon in second after coming back through the pack and not scoring big points. He needs a huge result in this race here. So Casabon cannot afford to really get involved in too much here. And the beauty for him is he's got a teammate behind him. So Erhan Yuyovsky, Ethan Yuyovsky, whatever you want to call him, he doesn't need a huge result. He got a P7 in race number 1. Another P7 would be absolutely fine. So will he play rear gunner, knowing that Thibaut Casabon effectively needs a huge finish? That will be the interesting factor in this race. Come on, Connery, give us your predictions.
Oh, this one's a more difficult one, shall we say?
Don't know what that noise was, Connery, but it was interesting as well.
Yeah. Obviously, Casabon, he's got to not get flashbacks to race number 1 and potentially try to avoid the 3 wide in towards turn number 1 to make sure that he can qualify into the DTM Esports season this time around. But yeah, there are a couple of drivers that got themselves more secure inside the top 10. De Bruin with a great lap as well. We've got Enzo Filipao actually starting in P10. So those drivers that potentially didn't do quite so well, or as far up the field as we're used to seeing them in that previous race, have been able to get themselves decent qualifying efforts here.
Yeah, Abalade is really quite far down the order. Going to struggle to qualify through at this stage. But yeah, you're right. De Bruin in a very good position here. Juhas as well, Filipoli. So those guys, Filipao. Those guys are in such a good position. And Nabiel, the Polish driver, is in a really good spot as well. P12, could do with a couple of spots as well, just to sort of add some insurance to his game. But it's looking good for the 2 at the front, isn't it? Isaac Price, Thibaut Casabon. Although Casabon just has to go out there and just have a mistake-free race, because I think Yuyovsky will back him up. And also, Rama Maulana doesn't need to really do anything. Already got that podium finish in race number 1. And Emre Cihan already got a second position finish today as well. So, Casabon has got pretty much the best drivers for his story around him, because none of them have to pressure. Isaac Price doesn't really need to win this race. He will absolutely try and win it. So, as much as it was a bad first race for Casabon, he has a real big opportunity to get through at this stage.
Yeah, really is. Just no silliness. The only thing that will put a damper on his efforts is a solo car incident, potentially. So, yeah, you just got to keep it on the grey stuff. Make sure you get to the end of this race. I mean, you can even lose a couple of positions from P2 there and still be relatively clear. So, yeah, that's the situation for Kazubon. In terms of those further behinds, though, we saw Vitvo get himself a good effort in that previous race. He starts P13, unlucky for some, but maybe not for Luciano. We'll have to see how that one turns out.
Here we go then. It is race 2 for Shootout 2. Last chance saloon for for every one of these drivers, to be fair. Isaac Price, can he go 2 from 2? Thibaut Casabon, can he go out there and get a race win? Isaac Price has definitely done his homework in terms of the race start from race number 1, because he managed to jump Emre Cihan into turn number 1. But Casabon finds himself in that spot this time around, waiting for those lights to go green, and then you'll see them like a group of bees fan out along the start-finish straight. We're about to go green light racing here for the final race of the Shootout season. And there we go. We're off and we are running. It's a great start from Isaac Price. Casabon then is going to defend from his teammate as soon as he possibly can. And his teammate is going to send it at the inside, almost contact between the two of them. But ultimately, they are going to get through there nicely. And actually, Rama Maulana is going to be gifted a podium position as they come through the right-hander. Actually, no, he's going to lose back out here, is he not? And there's Pfeiffer. So Pfeiffer's actually made up monstrous positions as he moves up into a podium spot. Brilliant stuff here from Pfeiffer.
What a start. Incredible. Scything his way through those Ferraris and that Porsche of Emre Cihan and getting himself up onto the podium. That is a great start. That's a mega effort from the German, and it allows everyone else to sort of scrap behind here. Maluana running pretty well. Porsche in behind though of Emre Cihan, who just shows the nose a little bit down into the next braking zone, but obviously no commitment to that here on this first lap. But yeah, big effort from Pfeiffer. We've got a couple others further down the field. Velestra is a retirement, unfortunately, in this race. He had an issue down through the first sector. Nabiel further down the order. Same with Pinches, same with Creevy. So a lot of drivers that we saw make progress in race 1. And are very competent drivers indeed with their history on RaceRoom. Unfortunately, they are down the order.
Oh, such a shame for some drivers who've really qualified well. As Cihan is going to send one up the inside. He's going to get that move done. And again, Rama Maulana just doesn't need to do anything crazy here. Just make sure that you get to the end. And if you pick up some big bonus points, you're good to go. But that podium in the first race is going to see Andika Rama Maulana through. No problem whatsoever. So Nabiel, looks like Nabiel is the last car. So we've got 2 retirements from this race then. Milniak only P18, Niklas Huben only P17. You'd expect Huben to be right up there, but unfortunately just not had the greatest of days. So yeah, checking out everybody else. So who's moved up the order? Pfeiffer's the biggest winner. Juhas as well, Julian Kunze, Philip Powell, big moves as well. Whitver has managed to stand still. Ironically, he's in P11, he started there as well. So definitely involved in something to effectively drop down but stay and hold the position. We see a potential move then from Berliak. Whitver is going to, well, might corner him, and he absolutely has every right to do so. And now there's some pressure from behind as Vera is going to try and make the move in that BMW. He's going to try and pinch Shari onto the apex. Does it wonderfully well. Now opens up into the final corner. Had to let off, actually. I think he might nearly have spun Shari. But ultimately, Vera backs out of it, and they're both facing in the right direction. That was close there. That was very close to Jari no longer being involved in this race. Fair play to Vera, because he understood that and backed out. And actually, he's probably going to lose the position here, because I think you'll find that Vollebrecht has made the move. He has. So Vollebrecht has now made his move through. So realistically, Vera, kind of by pulling out and not spinning his fellow competitor, has then gone and lost the position behind. So it's great to see sportsmanship like that, but ultimately it's cost him.
Yeah, it absolutely has. It's one of those things you get caught offline, you lose your momentum, you lose the groove, and those behind can really capitalize on that. A little bit of a move being made behind though. Alex Mosin and Niklas Huben getting very close. You got Lloyd Biddulph here involved as well. Biddulph getting all the camera time here today, it seems. He had a protracted battle in race number 1, and he's again, getting in people's faces here in race number 2 as well, and may even look for the opportunity here. There was Huben taking that left-hander too well, just losing a little bit of speed, although that might have impeded Bill for a little bit, because Malnak getting onto the back of him now in the Porsche behind. And Tolnek, well, we saw him a little bit further up in Shootout 1 before he had his incident, so he's a little bit out of position as well, I think.
Yeah, this is a real struggle bus situation for these two. They're outside the top 16, and you just have to force stuff now. But if you do force stuff, you're a little bit further behind in what you would normally be for an overtake, meaning you just lose more time. So you see a bit of a send behind between two Ferraris. Not too sure exactly who that was. It might have been Lichtenhagen in the Mercedes involved in that. But we did see a Ferrari. Who would that have been, actually? That would have been Ratai, I think. So Ratai, maybe Abelarde. We've got Pinches and Craigie also a bit further back, so maybe them. As we see a potential move from a BMW. Is that Vollebrecht making a move then on the inside of Shari? Oh, it's...
Sorry, well, Steph Kremer's trying to defend from Narkin Lieber. That's P23-24.
Oh, there we go, of course, yeah. So it's a little bit further behind. And again, it just gets really desperate at this stage of the race. If you're outside the top 16, seeing people score points and you're seeing your DTM Esports possibilities slip between your fingers.
Yeah, you are. Just, well, 14 minutes left in this race. You have to be pushing. You have to be going forward if you're back here in the 20s, shall we say. You need to do something. But, you need to try and cut through this field as fast as you can. Otherwise, well, depending on your situation from race number 1, you may be losing your chance at competing in the 2025 season of DTM Esports. A little bit of a situation going on towards the front train, however. Emre Cihan and Max Pfeiffer dueling it out, and Cihan continuing to, try and make quick work of some of the front runners as he pushes them forward.
This is a bit of a weird situation for these front drivers to be in, because it's a catch-22. They don't really need to fight, but if you are placid right now and you give someone who is also already qualified a psychological advantage by them overtaking you easily, when it gets to the main championship, they're going to see your weakness in you and think that you're going to be, you're more sendable than anyone else. So it's kind of like you still have to fight hard. You still, well, it's a bit of a slide there from Pfeiffer. Does that give Maulana an opportunity? It doesn't. But yeah, you kind of still want to fight hard here, just to, just to let everyone know, warn everyone that, I'm no easy pickings here. I may already be qualified, but, it doesn't matter what state mentally I'm in, whether I've checked out already, I'm still capable of holding on to a position.
I think Cihan's one of those drivers that has no off button.
Nope.
So when he's in a situation where he has to try and chill and maybe just consolidate the points, right? He's going to go, no, I just want to take the race win. And there's pass being made down in towards turn number 1. Julian Kunze making it happen.
Battle of the Jays there. Julian there taking on Juhas. And Kunze makes the move up to P8 and leading a big race here to Julian Kunze. We expect to see him reach the DTM Esports, but again, needs to go out there and absolutely grab it. Juha's falling down. Will be a little bit unhappy with that. And actually, Philip Howe all of a sudden is right in and amongst it. So the Frenchman now coming and getting involved. Luciano Whitver, who doesn't really need an amazing finish, is in a very good spot right now in 11th. Kind of just wants this race to be a little bit faster so he can just sort of keep out of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nerve-wracking 11.5 minutes coming up for a lot of the drivers. I mean, even those in relatively safe positions, right? Because the last thing you want is to have a solo car incident, hit a wall, fall back through the field, bam, there's your slot gone. It's a lot of pressure, even though there might be no one around you.
No, 100%. Again, if you are, teetering on the edge of qualifying, you just cannot afford to make any kind of mistake right now. So it's just, just keeping your nerve effectively, as we see here. De Bruin trying to potentially make a move. He's going to have to go a long way round here off Rama Maulana. Maulana just about leaving enough room. Well, I say that. It's, yeah, very much on the limit of what room should be left. And Maulana just about holds on, but the overlap's still there. Up the inside then for De Bruin. They have swapped positions about 19 times this lap already. And now that just invites the pressure on from the group behind. And Maulana just about hangs on. De Bruin is going to have to live to fight another day.
Yeah, absolutely great fight as there's the opening on the inside. Julian Kunze sends it down and in on De Bruin. They're absolutely level coming off the corner here, but De Bruin's able to hold on for now. But Kunze, he's thinking, I want to get myself stuck in.
Such a hard corner through turn number 6 to hold on if you're on the outside. See, there's a little bit of a bump there, a little bit of help. Is there a potential send going in towards the final sector? Not quite. Kunze, wow, he looks ready to race here today, doesn't he? It might be, yeah, it definitely wasn't this racy in race number 1. I was just about to say it might be a little bit too late, but it absolutely isn't. P8 right now. This is a very good points finish. And maybe he's just hitting form at the right time, right before the season begins.
Yeah, absolutely. Great progress being made from Kunze. Looking very, very racy here at the moment as well. All positive things to be able to take in to that into that main season if the mathematics works out in his favour. Couple of drivers sticking their noses out there in the front sort of leading train, shall we say. It's you know, it's always interesting to see side by side a little bit further back though. This is Abuladze, who has a bit of a recovery drive to continue on and gets himself through on Forrest Zimmerman.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a little bit too late, unfortunately. I think the drivers like Berliak, Jari, Vollebrecht, those are the drivers that really need a good finish here. Huber now up to a top 16, probably needs to gain another 5 spots. So, yeah, the position's just outside the top 10, and before sort of, you know, the last maybe 8 drivers, or maybe even 12 drivers, is very, very interesting. So it's like a group of 6 drivers, Whitver, Berliak, Jari, Vollebrecht, Vera and Huben, who all kind of need to swap positions, really, if they are to guarantee themselves through to the main show.
Yeah, they are. And we're starting to run out of time now to try and make this happen. 8:30. It's, you know, and as this field gets themselves spread out a little bit with our battle packs sort of fighting in and amongst themselves, if you get to the front of one pack, it's going to be a big task to try and catch the back of the other. Big defensive move from Vitvo all the way to the inside. Returns back to the middle of the circuit to try and open up the corner somewhat. But Biljak here, or Biljak, we'll have to check the pronunciation of that one. But continuing to press on with an opportunity, but losing a couple of tenths in that first sector alone means that, well, nothing on the horizon just yet.
No, you're not wrong. I love the Whitver had to make 2 like a double move to the inside there. He moved to cover the middle, and then realised, oh no, hold on, this is RaceRoom Esports. They will find any kind of gap up the inside, and then swiftly move to the left once more. It's almost like being on the autobahn, just switching lanes. But holds on to the position, as we see now. Vollebrecht, who isn't really putting much pressure onto Jari, and actually is under a bit more pressure from Vera in behind. So can Vera potentially find a move as he gets nearly touched up there by Nicholas Huben. Huben in the Ferrari, looking to try and make up as many positions. We get a lovely onboard shot then of Vera. And he's also provided us with a picture. We'd love to see that. So Lolo Vera needs to get that power down really early. Let's have a look at him all the way down towards turn number 1. So I think that Beamer will be carving a pretty big hole in the air for Vera to be able to fill. See the big catch fence on the right-hand side. As we come down towards turn number 1, not going to be quite close enough, is he? Unless he completely sends it, opens up the corner maybe a little bit better than the car in front, but ultimately it's a bit of a stalemate.
Yeah, it really is. At least at this moment in time, it's you know, you're going to try and sit in that slipstream as much as possible, but the pull, at least at the moment, while noticeable, is not enough to solely be able to pull yourself alongside. You still need to get that overspeed in some other fashion. Although Vollebrecht just pushing a little bit wide there through the left, a bit of side-by-side going on behind. This is Abuladze and Alex Mosin, and in fact we got 2x2. Simon and Rata are also involved in this one as well.
It's like the fastest formation lap in the history of everything. Absolutely ridiculous there. So we're on board with Mosin. Mosin now under a little bit of pressure here from Ratai, I believe.
Yep.
Is Ratai going to be able to make the move? No, he is not. So position held onto, and then there's two BMVs just a bit further up the road. And it's one of those, isn't it? If you try and make a move on somebody and it doesn't work, you know in this close field that as soon as you don't make it stick, you're going to be under pressure from the car behind.
Everyone's separated by about a handful of tenths of a second in qualifying, so that is absolutely correct. Of course, things might be you know, slightly different with race pace versus qualifying pace, but it's going to be a roughly similar story all round. As you see Forrest Simon on the back of Abuladze here as well, trying to fight for those scraps of points, which may end up being all important. But this mid-pack train with Vollebrecht, Vera, Huben, Malnak, Vidolf is looking pretty spicy as well.
It certainly is. Again, we're on board with the blue BMV in behind Vollebrecht. And then you've got, if this battle ends up with some sort of shenanigans, you've got Huben just in behind in that top 16 position and looking to try and gain as much time and potential positions as possible. It's just so difficult. Just seems like the Ferrari's very good under braking, but the BMW just able to get out of a corner significantly better. It seems slower mid-corner, seems slower in terms of braking into a corner, but the acceleration on the exit of a corner seems to be the BMW's strength today, which makes it very difficult for Nicholas Huben to make any kind of inroads. As he comes out the final corner, 4 minutes to go, Connery, in our final shootout race.
The main season on the horizon now as they head their way across the start-finish line. Lead is 2 seconds between Isaac Price and Thibaut Casabon. Casabon running in a comfortable spot at the moment after the horror show that was race number 1 for him. And with the P2 finish here in race number 2, he is, well, pretty much through to the main season. But there's still maybe some things that are undecided. A couple of drivers in this little train that we're watching right now, perhaps a little bit uncertain about where they're going to finish up in terms of the points order, whether or not they're going to finish inside the top 16 that's needed to qualify into the main season. You just kind of got to assume that you still need more and press on forward.
No, absolutely. Could not agree with you more. Unfortunately, though, a little bit too, well, not enough time really to keep pressing forward. We've got, what, 2.5 laps remaining, depending on when they cross the line at the front. What are they going to need? They're going to need about they're going to need 2 minutes 50 seconds, 2 minutes 45-ish to cross the line for there to be 3 laps remaining. So it's going to be close here. It's actually going to be very, very close. But I think we've got 3 laps remaining, including this one coming up. So we're on board with Huben, who's got to try and find a couple of spots towards the end of this race, because ultimately the group ahead of this BMW pack is just too far up ahead. So Huben, realistically, has only got 2 overtakes to make here as he makes a move up the inside then of Vera. First one negotiated, is going to extend on the exit of the corner. There is a little bit of door banging on the exit, but ultimately Huben has got the move done. And well, it is crunch time right now. Has to make these moves and has to make them swiftly.
Yeah, gets one disposed of. Looking to try and press on and try and get onto the back of Vollebrecht as well. That almost caused a little bit of action between Vera and Malnak, and Malnak goes for the lunge down the inside. Big move being made.
Yeah, he's now got to try and keep the overlap, which is almost impossible through turn number 6. And ultimately, yeah, not going to work out. That Vera is going to hang on, but that just gives Huben now a bit more breathing space to push into that gap ahead and maybe make a move on Vollebrecht. This is playing into the hands of Nicholas Huben perfectly.
Playing into his hands, yeah, absolutely. It's it does wonders for the mind for the mindset when you see the drivers behind fighting, right? Because you're like, oh, fantastic, they're just gonna be slowing each other up. I'm gonna get a little bit of breathing room. I'm gonna run off ahead. Just takes that pressure off so much when you see that fighting going on in your wing mirrors. You're just hoping that they don't outbrake themselves and run into you.
Yeah, you want them to be in a position where they're just not sendable anymore, or you're not sendable anymore. As it looks like Burliak's made a move on Whitford. Whitford's retaken that move. Now Burliak back up ahead, and it is a move then done for Burliak. Whitford with that P4 in race number 1, it's not going to matter here. He doesn't need to make any moves, and Burliak absolutely does. Needs as many positions as possible to try and get himself through to the DTM Esports 2025. So I think we're going to have one more lap remaining after this one. I say I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've got one more lap remaining after this one. We're on board with Whitford, who probably isn't going to get back. What about Nicholas Huben? How close is Huben behind Vollebrecht? I think that's really the strongest battle out on circuit. That's the closest one we're probably going to see. There we go. So with one more lap remaining, that gap has significantly come down. Also, the gap behind has significantly increased as Isaac Price then rounds the final corner and will take them on one more tour of this Lausitzring circuit. And it looks like it's going to be 2 wins from 2. So there is Whitford trying to hang on to the coattails of Burliak. Doesn't really need to do anything too crazy. And look at Vollebrecht as well then. So Vollebrecht under a bit of pressure from Huben. So can Huben find a move down towards turn number 1, or will he be able to set it up down towards turn number 6? Is he close enough to make the move this time around? We saw it 2 laps ago. He is close enough. He will try and go late under braking, gets the door closed, gets the door slammed in his face by Vollebrecht, and now it comes down to turn number 6. We're getting a lovely view there from the rear of Vollebrecht's car in that BMW as we come then back onto the oval section of the circuit. Very quickly we're going to move down to the left-hand side into the infield. Are we about to see a big send up the inside from Huben? We are absolutely not. And Vollebrecht has defended valiantly there and has held onto P14.
Yeah, he's done very well indeed, under a massive amount of pressure. Race lead gap coming down, of course, but I think it's just Price making sure that he can get himself to the ends here in with not too many dramas. I mean, he doesn't even need to necessarily either, because he got the race win in that previous event as well. But what a day it is for the Brits, driving the Ferrari through the final corner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be 2 from 2. Very similarly to what we saw from Tim Yarshall 3 weeks ago. Isaac Price picks up a 2nd win and announces himself within this DTM Esports Championship. Lovely old job for him. Thibaut Casabon, who had a very miserable first race today, needed a big finish. Well, did he ever deliver there for RHG Esports? Picks up P2 for the Frenchman. Ethan Yovsky picks up a podium and 3rd spot. Emre Cihan in 4th. We've then got Pfeiffer, and we've got Andika Rama Maulana as your top 6. De Bruyne, Kunze, and Juhas as your top 9. Philippau finishes in 10th, Burliak in 11th, Whitford, and then Jari in 13th position, with Vollebrecht, who was under some pressure from Huben at the end there, holding on to 14th position. Huben 15th, Milniak is in 16th. Vera, Bidolf, and Abeladze are your top 19. And I believe this is all of our finishes then. Zimmerman, Mosin, Ratai, we've got Pinches, Mackenberg, Kremers, Lichtenhagen, who's probably been the most supported driver in the chats today. So shout out to all the Lichtenhagen fans. Nabil in 27th, Lieber and Cravey as your top 29. Is everyone else a DNF? Yes. So the Vlietstra, who seems like he had an issue early on in this race, qualified very well, and I think could probably have made it through to the main show, has had an issue somewhere along the line. So unfortunate for the Dutchman, but that will be no cigar this time around. Oh, Connery, it's done. It's dusted. We have got, well, of course, there are going to be adjudications. The stewards will have to look at these races to get our final 16 drivers for the 32 going into the main series. But the races are done, and that was a whole lot more frantic than Oschersleben.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's it's great when we have a track that's conducive to overtaking, isn't it? It's funny how that happens. But yeah, it's definitely much more competitive, a lot closer in terms of the mid pack here as well. It's we've got we'll hopefully get ourselves confirmation of the 32 drivers in the not too distant future. Probably won't be by the end of the stream, but it definitely will be on the RaceRoom and on the DTM social media as well. So yeah, before we leave, we do have to have a little bit of a chat with a couple of our drivers. Well, hopefully a couple. Currently, there's only one.
Oh, there probably won't be a couple. It would just be Isaac, no doubt. But we've got Isaac here again. Isaac, you're rolling back the years, my man. I know you're still quite a young man in the context of a human being, but as a sim racer, you are pretty much dead. It must feel great to be a double winner today.
Yeah, 31 going on 60, right? Yeah, it's really good. I had a bit of a scare on the last lap. I had like a small off track, and then I looked at it going on to the oval to start the last lap, and it had gone up to like 2 seconds or something. So I had to like serve the slowdown as quickly as I could to like actually get it to clear. So yeah, I had a bit of a heart attack there, but luckily we just about got away with it. I don't quite know what happened there. I'll have to look at the replay, but yeah. So luckily I built a gap that was enough to still hold on to the win.
Well, yeah, fair enough. I guess that's something you've done the hard work anyway in race number 1, so it wasn't really the biggest worry in the world, I would imagine. But you're a bit of a student of sim racing, right? You kind of keep your eyes on most of the series out there. You'll know damn well who's already qualified through the first qualifying phase, and obviously you'll keep your eye on a few people here today. But who would be the drivers you're most worried about going into the main show?
I think you have to say Tim. He was very impressive last year. And yeah, I have to say, to be honest, he's the main one. Like everyone else, I mean, everyone can be good on their day in this series. No one's, just there to make the numbers up. But yeah, Tim was very impressive last year. So I expect that if you want to win the championship, he's the guy you got to beat.
Yeah, the only people making up the numbers is me and Connery at this point. Always fantastic to hear from you, Isaac. I'm going to let you go now. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy your weekend. But we will see you in March when the DTM Esports 2025 take off. Congratulations to our double race winner for today.
Thank you.
There you go, Connery. That is it. It is done and dusted. We have got our 32 drivers heading into the DTM Esports 2025. Let's have a quick look at the calendar for the season then, before we do indeed close the stream out. So, round 1 will be the 21st of March, and wherever you're watching right now will be where you can watch the main championship as well, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're looking forward to watching a bit of RaceRoom and DTM Esports action, make sure you subscribe to DTM. Make sure that you're following on Twitch and RaceRoom, and make sure you're following on YouTube or subscribing on YouTube to RaceRoom and DTM as well. So, and turn notifications on, then you know exactly when we're going to go live. Then we're going to head to the Lausitzring, which is always my personal favorite. One of my favorite cities in the world is in Nuremberg, and yeah, no exception in terms of their racetrack as well. 4 corners. It's just an absolute spectacle. Then we head to the Nürburgring for round number 3. Then we got the super special sexy event worth no points on the 9th of May. Again, zero idea what that is. Absolutely no idea what that is, but I'm sure when we find out, we'll be very excited about it. Then we head to Lausitzring for round number 4 on the 30th of May. Then we head to the Red Bull Ring for round number 5 before we head, of course, to the Hockenheim Ring for the 18th of July. So a bit more spaced out than it has been previously. Connery, any final words from you?
Bring on the 2025 DTM Esports season. That's what I say, because we had some good fighting here. Imagine, if we get the top guys going wheel to wheel as well, because they don't tend to do so in these shootouts, right? They just want to park it at the front and just be safe and not take any risks. But as soon as they're forced to in that main season, oh boy, it's going to be interesting.
Shootout 1 and Shootout 2 done. We've got our 32 drivers. Make sure you keep an eye on RaceRoom social media and DTM social media to find out the final 32 drivers. But just like Connery said, you thought it was spicy in Shootout 1 and 2. Well, when it gets to the main season, oh boy, it will be frantic. It will be must-watch television on your Friday evening. So make sure that you come and check us out when we kick things off on the 21st of March. From me and Connery, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.